Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Unfiltered Feed podcast. This is our IPL 2026 preview, and this is our last episode of this prestigious series. And today we'll be covering the Delhi Capitals and Lucknow Super Giants, two teams that are not known for being in the news, but incidentally, at the time of recording, these two are supposed to be in news, and we'll explore that later. But first, let us welcome our co-host, my co-host, Yash. So, how are you and how was this week?
Hi, Ved. Hello to the viewers as well. I'm doing great. This week was amazing. And today is a Thursday, so the weekend is coming quick and fast. So can't wait for it.
Yeah, I think at the time of recording, we are just an hour away from the toss, the first test between India and South Africa. So, all eyes will be on that match as well. But we would like to quickly wrap up our series. I didn't really expect us to be on point with our timings of uploading the videos. I thought we might have to rush a bit and somehow make it in time before the actual retention day. But I think we did a good job and we were constantly making sure that we made progress. And here we are, the last two teams. Though they're not the most exciting, but we'll try our best to make them exciting.
Yeah, exactly. They finished P5 and P6, I think, on the points table last time. So they're the middle two teams of the IPL. As you said, not the most exciting because they both have done a decent job, but not a good enough job. So not much to really talk about them, but we'll try to do our best.
Yeah, so we'll start with the Delhi Capitals because I like them a lot. So they had a very interesting season. I think they began really well and they looked almost certain to qualify.
Yeah.
And then something just switched in that team and they ended up with a really poor finish. So, what did you make of the squad before the season started when they were doing well? And did you expect the fall as it happened?
To be honest, I was quite impressed with the squad that they had put up. I was very impressed with three teams, which was Delhi, RCB, and Punjab. And these three historically have been really poor. So I was very happy that they had a good squad. And as you mentioned, that they kicked off the season really well, with 5 wins out of the first 5 games. And they had their key players like KL Rahul, Faf du Plessis, Kuldeep Yadav, Akshar Patel, and Mitchell Stark performing for them. So they were looking unbeatable until they lost against MI. And that kind of triggered something because that game was almost done and dusted with the way Karun Nair was batting. And his dismissal essentially just turned that game around. And I think they must have lost a lot of confidence within themselves. And after that, they kept losing or at least taking games very deep that shouldn't have gone that deep. So they just ran out of confidence, I think. And in the end, I think two of their key players, Akshar Patel, Mitch Stark, and I think one more player, ended up leaving in the IPL that resumed after the break due to the war. So that made matters worse for them. But I think the squad itself was looking very good and they started off really well.
Yeah, I remember Mumbai Indians winning that game, and as you mentioned, it really did do something to them because they weren't the same after that. I remember after that they also bottled an easy win versus RCB where they let Krunal Pandya and
Yeah.
Virat Kohli chase down a score after they had pretty much almost sealed the deal. So it really was a very weird flow of events for them last year. So let us talk about the retentions. They retained Tristan Stubbs for 10 crores, Abhishek Porel for 4 crores, Kuldeep Yadav for 13.25 and Akshar Patel for 16 and a half. So fairly vigilant with the way they spent their money.
Yeah,
Not over the top. Also, it shows that they didn't really have a lot of cream with them last year and the previous cycle. So they really did retain most of what they could. So
I think the big player they let go of was Rishabh Pant. So I would love to
yeah,
hear your thoughts on that. Do you think they should have kept him, or was it right to let him go?
I think it was purely based on the owner's thought process, and we know that the owners haven't really. It hasn't been a smooth sailing. There are multiple owners, and they keep changing. After every 2 years, the control shifts, so it's never a good place to be in. I don't know what triggered that move. Was it Rishabh Pant unimpressed with the management, or one of the owners not liking the way he captained? But either way, I think it did benefit both of them. Rishabh did get a very good deal, and even the Capitals could spend their resources in different directions, because I'm sure if they had retained him, he wouldn't have come below 16. So
Yeah,
I think it helped both of them, but I was honestly surprised because he was the face of Delhi Capitals, and he was the one. Delhi were the ones who really gave him that boost. And I also know for a fact that him and Jindal have pretty good connections. And
yeah.
even during his rehab after that accident, I think they were the ones who supported him a lot. So something must have gone wrong.
Yeah, I think it was more to do with both the sides wanting a fresh start to their IPL career because, as you said, Pant was with them ever since he started playing the IPL and he captained them since 2021 effectively, even though a year was there in 2021. And it became quite repetitive because every year you would see Delhi play mediocre cricket. They would win a few games really nicely, but for most of it, they were quite incompetent. So they must have had a discussion where both the parties thought that it's better that they leave each other and start afresh because it was also a mega auction. So I think that might have been the reason. But I was also surprised because I felt that Rishabh Pant was the icon, similar to how Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma are for their respective sides. So seeing him leave, I think it felt really weird, and I'm sure the Delhi fans would agree with this.
Yeah. So now moving on to the auction, I think they had a lot of very good buys, uh, such as KL Rahul. They had to invest in a stable opener and an Indian name who could, in some capacity, replace Rishabh Pant. And they got KL Rahul 14, and of course Faf du Plessis for 2 crores, which was a steal. That's what I thought, even though
Yeah.
he's pretty aged at this point, but I think he's still very fit. So 2 crore investment on Faf wasn't the worst of deals. It was actually a very good one. So they really strengthened their batting with those two picks. And they of course got McGurk on RTM if I'm not wrong. So
Yeah.
I think the batting was pretty much solid, and you saw that throughout the season as well. They also had Tristan Stubbs and Abhishek Porel, and then they decided to also unleash Akshar Patel, the batter. Of course, he was the captain, so he had some control over that decision, I'm sure. But do you think they had this in mind before the auction that Akshar would be used as a batter? And does that explain some of the buys in the auction? Because I don't see any left-handed batter in their ranks. So do you think it was because of them not having a left-hander that they decided to promote Akshay, or was it the other way around that they were confident in his batting skills, so they did not try and actively buy left-handed batters?
Yeah, I think it was the former. Sorry, the latter. They knew that Akshar was a reliable middle overs batter. I don't think they can rely much on his hitting abilities because he's not a pure batter, but What that meant is they had someone to play in the middle overs in case a few quick wickets fell. And you can see that because they invested a lot in a lot of finishers like Donovan Ferreira, Ashutosh Sharma, Samir Rizvi, all these guys. So I think they trusted Akshar Patel from before, which is why they went for these finishers and also top order. So apart from Harry Brook, I don't think they spent a lot of money on middle order players. Obviously, Rahul ended up playing in the middle order, but that wasn't the plan initially. So yeah, I think they trust Akshar Patel.
Yeah, and now that you have mentioned Harry Brook, I think that was one of their biggest blunders last year, that they did not go for a replacement when
Yeah,
they were told that Brook won't come. And of course, with his grandmother passing away, all that was a different story. But I think there
wasn't
were,
that the year before? This time he wanted to prepare himself for the Ashes or something like that, or focus on England's captaincy.
I think so, yeah.
I think so.
He was
Yeah,
made the captain. But anyways, it was a bit bizarre for him to then register for the auction and then withdraw.
yeah.
And rightfully so, he's banned for the next this entire cycle. That's what I believe. So I think they were pretty, I would say, a bit too casual with their approach while while getting a replacement for him. I think they didn't really care much. And what I heard later was that they were going back and forth with Devold Brevis, and all he demanded was game time. He said, I want to be a part of the matches a lot more. I don't want to warm the bench because instead of that, I can just be in South Africa and play the domestic games. But they were just not agreeing on that. And I think had they agreed, there could have been a completely different story in the IPL last year. Brevis then went to CSK and now is locked in for the future.
Yeah.
So things could have been completely different, but Capitals managed to pull off a typical DC move, and they ended up going with Dasun Shanaka later, which is even worse. So I don't know the thinking behind that, but yeah, that was one moment where I could truly see the DC genes, and I could really see that Rishabh Pant had his say while leaving the franchise and not the other way around.
Yeah, that's true. I also feel that since that won the first 5 games, they felt that they were happy
Yeah.
with the combination, so they didn't really pay a lot of attention to this. Whereas CSK, who had lost a lot of games, they were keen to make the most out of every opportunity. So that must have also played. But when it comes to the batting, as I mentioned, they had a lot of inexperience in the middle order and the bottom. So do you think that costed them in the crucial games that they lost? And also, if you look at the bowling, there's not a lot of experience. You only have Kuldeep and Akshar and Stark. But with them, there aren't a lot of players who have played the IPL. And even Stark hasn't played a lot of the IPL. So do you think they missed some wise heads on the field?
Yeah, I think they did have some experience, but the problem was that the players weren't really suitable. They banked on the wrong kind of players. I would say Mitchell Stark, Mohit Sharma, and in some sense T. Natarajan, not that much, but most of their picks were bowlers who relied on the pitch. As I mentioned previously as well, Mitchell Stark, Mohit Sharma, they're not really someone who can escape when the conditions don't favor them.
Yeah.
So even Mukesh Kumar for that matter. So the Delhi pitch being absolutely placid and offering very little help, I think they relied a lot on Akshar Patel and Kuldeep Yadav for the defensive bowling. So they ended up conceding a lot. And as you mentioned, these kind of bowlers, they didn't have the experience of closing out overs well. So I remember they have a lot of times they would end up conceding 9 or 10 runs even while bowling 4 or 5 good balls in that over. And it's a very small thing, but it adds up. And I think it's something they would like to avoid. They would want to have bowlers who can do well in those conditions. because you can't always go behind the big names. You need someone who has the skills to deliver in particular conditions. That's what I feel.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And with that, I think we can talk about the releases that we can expect from them. And I think they seriously need to revamp their entire fast bowling attack because they've got the likes of Mukesh Kumar, Mohit Sharma, T. Natarajan, and a few other players like Darshan Narkande, and obviously Mitchell Stark, who I think they will keep. But with his comments last time, they might have to release him as well. So they're stuck when it comes to the fast bowling. What are your thoughts on this, and who do you think they should go for to be that leader and the gun bowler of the pack?
Yeah, I think they have a very one-dimensional pace attack, and they do need some variations. Mohit Sharma, I can understand the logic behind going for him. He did well for the Gujarat Titans in pretty similar conditions, I would say, but he's not the same Mohit Sharma, let's be honest, and he did that for just one season. So I think you can let go of Mohit Sharma, you can let go of T. Natarajan, who's a bit overpriced. I think that would free up some money. And even if you want him, I'm sure you can get him for cheaper than 11 crores. I think so one man, I know we talk about players to watch out for, but one man they can really uh, try and build in this setup and not really let go of, I would say is Madhav Tiwari. He's a very promising young pacer. So if he can develop, I think he can serve the Capitals for a long time. So I think they need bowlers who can adapt, and there aren't a lot of those names, unfortunately. So they'll have to rely on the bits and pieces left out by others. And maybe if they can have someone from the domestics who's doing well, I would say someone like Akib Nabi, who is a hit the deck bowler, and I think he's of the mold of someone like a Mukesh Kumar, but I think he's better than Natarajan or Mohit Sharma in these conditions. So I would go for him. And also, I heard there were talks of Mohammad Shami being traded from SRH to Delhi. So if he comes in, I don't think I would be too happy as a DC fan, but let's see how that builds.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think Shami is very similar to someone like a Mukesh Kumar. Basically, the swing bowler, Mukesh is not, but they both try to bowl the fuller length, and they become pretty much toothless after the first few overs and when they get hit, importantly. Another thing that I was kind of noticing with the squad that they have is that they need to plan how they are going to play the four international players because this squad is very similar to Mumbai Indians because they have some seriously talented Indian batters. All they need is a top order gun foreign batter, maybe someone like a Phil Salt. I'm sure he won't get released, but someone of that stature. Even Johnny Bairstow could do it if he's consistent enough. Or a Quinton de Kock with KL Rahul. That would be a pretty good combination. And then they can play two pacers in the bowling, just like MI do it. So if they can keep Stark, then they can partner Stark with another gun fast bowler who can then lead the pace bowling attack. And in the spin, you already have Akshar Patel, Kuldeep Yadav, and Vipraj Nigam. So those three can take care of it. And that leaves them with one more foreign spot, which they can play as a floater. So someone like a Will Jacks, if he's released, I think he would make a lot of sense in this side because they need players who can play a lot of roles depending on how
Yeah.
quickly wickets fall. So they should seriously think and come up with a nice strategy because they have the players, but they just need to fill a few holes that costed them last time.
Yeah, I think one more foreign name that comes to my mind is either Matt Short or
Yeah,
any one of Glenn Maxwell or Mitch Owen. One
yeah,
of them will be released by Punjab Kings for sure. So they can target those names because they fit into that mold perfectly. And even someone like Liam Livingston, if he's released by RCB.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we'll get a better idea of who teams can target once the released players are known. And I think that episode is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, so let's quickly talk about the releases. I think one certainty is Jake Fraser McGurk for 9 crores. He's getting released for sure. And then, as you mentioned, most likely T. Natarajan will. And I'm saying that most likely Stark will also because of his
Yeah.
comments last time. So, who do you think, apart from that, will get released?
I think they could think about Dushmanta Chamira, not because of the prize, but he does eat up a foreigner's spot, and he's
Yeah.
someone who is frequently injured. And he did come up for them late last year, but I think there are better options even within the Sri Lankan team who they can target, like
Yeah.
Asita Fernando and Lahiru Kumara. So I would like to see them release him.
Yeah. And I just realized that we completely missed Tristan Stubbs in our the squad that we presented a few minutes back. So the player that they need in the middle, I think Tristan Stubbs is perfect for that. He can play right from number 5 or number 3, not number 3, but number 4, all the way to number 8, number 9. So he's the answer to that question. So they just need a backup maybe for him.
Yeah, a backup. Yeah, so now we can just quickly wrap up this team with the players to watch out for from this bunch. As I already mentioned, Madhav Tiwari is one name who I'm very skeptical if he will get a chance, but I would like to see him at least being developed in the background and being worked on. And another name is Manvant Kumar. He's also a very talented batter. So I think they're being wasted, if I'm being very honest,
Yeah.
sitting on the bench in Delhi Capitals because they aren't a franchise known for grooming young talent. So I would like to see that happening with them. And another name I wanted to see were the second season Blues of Vipraj Nigam, but I think I've heard that he's going to jail. Yeah, he was booked recently, so I'm not sure if it's a plot against him or I can't go into details of that, but surely will impact him even if he comes out and plays. So I wanted to see how he does because he was really impressive
Yeah.
in the first season. And of course, Ashutosh Sharma is a ever popping up name. So who are yours?
Yeah. So before that, we usually just select one player to watch out for, but you have pretty much picked the entire squad. But yeah, I was looking at two players as well. They are Ashutosh Sharma and Samir Rizvi. I think DC ranks or rates both of them pretty highly, and they played I think a lot of games last time. And Ashutosh Sharma alone won them a couple of games when they
The
were
first one
almost
at the
yeah they were almost certain to lose them. So I just want to see Ashutosh Sharma rise and become a more dependable player because I think he has what it takes to even play for India. And same with Samir Rizvi. He was in CSK. I think he hit a six of his first ball, but since then he hasn't really shown much. So I hope both of them can do a good job and become the next, Tewatia Miller combination where you can pretty much rely on them to close games.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, Ashutosh Sharma, he did really well. Won them the first game of the season last year,
Yeah.
which was against Lucknow Super Giants. So it's a
Oh.
perfect segue to that little franchise. So I think LSG, uh, it's not, I really don't know, but I don't really like them. I haven't built this kind of bond with them. Even if they don't perform well, if they perform well, you form a certain connection with teams over the years.
Yeah.
I don't think that connection has been formed yet for most of the people. Gujarat Titans managed to do that. Of course, they won the title, Uh, but LSG, even though they qualified in 2022, in 2023, uh, they didn't in the next two, but uh, they were still not able to really connect with the fans, I believe. Even
Yeah,
their stadium, I think, regularly has a low turnout. So before we move into the squad, do you think they're doing something wrong there, or it's just because of the uh, perception of that particular region?
not really, because I think the Lucknow region is really passionate when it comes to cricket. We've obviously seen a lot of people turn out at the stadium in Ranchi, and even all the international games that have happened at Lucknow, there have been a lot of people. So I don't think the fans are a reason to blame Lucknow, but I think they haven't really had one icon player, as I mentioned earlier, because ever since they have started playing in the IPL, they had KL Rahul, who's not really someone who likes to go out in the media or lead the team from the front. He's someone who likes to do his job and keep calm, and he's a reserved person. They got Rishabh Pant, so I was hoping that it would kind of go up, but he had a terrible season as a batter himself. So he wasn't able to lead the team from the front, except in the last game when he actually scored a century and he did the flip. So that kind of brought the team into a
Mm.
bit of limelight. So I think that's what they're missing. Because if you look at Gujarat, when they came, they had Hardik, who was a first-time captain, and he was kind of leading the team. And now they have Shubman Gill. So Lucknow kind of missed that one iconic player who they can build the team around.
Yeah. So hopefully they can strike that balance and form a bond with their fans.
Yeah,
I'm sure they have tried that and it is successful at the local level, but they need fans to kind of create hype about their franchise.
yeah. Uh, just before moving, a good example was even Shreyas Iyer at Punjab because he led them really well, and they started calling
Sarpanch
him
Saab.
Sarpanch Saab. So he's kind of become that synonymous with the fans already. So Lucknow are looking for that player still. I hope it's Rishabh Pant.
Yeah. So hopefully they do that. Talking about the retentions, there wasn't really much hype about the retained players because of Rishabh Pant's buy in the auction. All the attention went towards him. But they actually did have a few good retentions. Nicholas Pooran for 21 crores is obviously a big one. And they had four Indian relatively uncapped. Ravi Bishnoi for 11 crores. Mayank Yadav for 11 crores. And then Mohsin Khan and Ayush Baduni 4 crores. I actually had no idea they retained Mohsin Khan until I saw this. So I think their entire season was filled with a lot of bad omen or bad luck, and one of it was that two of their retentions were injured and didn't show up. Mayank Yadav and Mohsin Khan. So do you think or do you agree with the retentions they made, or could they have chosen someone better?
To be very honest with you, I saw this coming because I think Mohsin Khan has been injured ever since his iconic 2022 season, where
Yeah,
he came back really strong and he was one of your favorite bowlers of all time back then. And even with Mayank Yadav, I don't think he's played more than 5 games on a bounce consistently. He plays a couple and gets injured and then goes out for weeks. So it was always going to be a very big risk when you wanted to retain both of these players. And it didn't help because I think even Akash Deep, who they bought in the auction, was injured. Same with I think Avesh Khan and even Shahbaz Ahmed. So
and
basically,
Shama Joseph.
Shama Joseph. So their entire bowling unit pretty much was injured. And then they had to bring the savior, the Lord himself, who came and did the job, but now they've let him go. We'll obviously talk more about this. But yeah, 15 crores when you spend it on two players who are not known for their reliability, it was a risk. And honestly, I saw this coming, so it's them to blame. But I'm sure Zahir Khan, who was with them back then, had a say in this because he's worked with Mohsin Khan before, so he wanted to work with him even more.
Work overtime with him.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm really not sure about either of Mayank and Mohsin even for this season
yeah.
because as far as I'm aware, they haven't shown up for the Ranji Trophy season yet. So either they've given up the red ball ambitions or they didn't have any and they will show up for the white ball tournaments and we'll get a better idea
Hopefully.
of their status. Because Mohsin Khan, I remember when he was at his peak,
Yeah,
uh, I regularly used to advocate for his inclusion in the Indian setup as well.
yeah,
And if I'm not wrong, he did come back in 2023 and he defended versus MI that last
yeah.
over.
Correct, correct. You're
So,
right.
so I can assure you that 2022 was not just a one-off event and he does have the skill. He just needs his body to support him and hopefully he can do it in 2026.
Yeah,
And talking about the other buys, surely they packed their bowling with a lot of pacers as expected. Avesh Khan for 9.75 crores was one of their bigger investments, and Akashdeep for 8 crores. And then they also had Akash Singh Maharaj for 30 lakhs. S- so they obviously had a lot of resources, and
and
hence they
you're
could
forgetting
survive.
the goat, Prince Yadav himself.
Yeah, the borewell. So I think they had a lot of resources, and in the end, they did have a pretty varied kind of pace attack. All of them were mediocre, but at least they had variety.
Yeah,
So they went down, but they went down with a lot of variety.
yeah,
And
and you have to thank Zahir Khan that they had these many pacers because they needed each and every one of them. I think every player in that lineup played at least a couple of games because of the
yeah,
injuries that they had.
and then obviously the main or the MVP for them was none of these pacers, and it was a newbie, and he was, of course, Digvesh Singh Rathi, who absolutely no one saw coming. Yeah, he was kind of the one who really got the fans going as well. The
Yeah,
point I mentioned. So Digvesh Singh Rathi eventually ended up eating Ravi Bishnой's spot in the team. So I think when they first played, I remember the bowling attack and I was laughing at the quality because in no way they could have had that kind of a bowling being an IPL franchise.
yeah,
And they had, I think they had Prince Yadav and Digvesh Rathi and Shardul Thakur in a five-man attack. If those are your three pacers, three bowlers, I don't think you really are in a good condition. That's what I thought. But of course, one of them did well at least. That was Digvesh Singh Rathi, constantly among the wickets. So, do you think, or what do you think they need to improve in this bowling attack?
I think if they get all these bowlers for the next season, it will already be a big upgrade for them because the players like Mayank Yadav and Mohsin Khan, as you mentioned, they can be game changers if they are a bit more reliable because then they can push themselves a bit more and bowl to their best abilities. But more than this, I think they need some experience because all of these players are quite young in the IPL. There's not much experience apart from maybe Avesh Khan, who has played quite a few seasons. So they probably need a bit more experience. They had someone like a Shardul Thakur who is experienced. They let him go. But I think someone like a Mohammad Shami, since there are rumors, he would really make a lot of sense in this side because he will bring that experience from one side. He can guide the other younger bowlers during the practice sessions as well. So it will help the team grow. And I just remembered that one name that's not in this list is Will O'Rourke, who came in as the replacement for, I think, Shamar Joseph. And he bowled pretty well. He ended up picking, I think, 4 or 5 wickets in a game. So he was also another fast bowler that they had.
Yeah, and they were also added in Arjun Tendulkar. So
Oh, yeah.
It's just an overload. Surely they will release a few. We'll come to that. Uh, I think, as you mentioned, Avesh Khan being experienced, it's going to be a very big season for him. If he, if at all he has ambitions to play for India.
Yeah,
If he's happy with this, then I think he's doing pretty well, earning 10 crores a year. But I think it's been way too long. He was in the reckoning until 2023. Suddenly, not suddenly, I think everyone could see it coming. He wasn't really performing that well, and is slowly just faded away. So I think he still has a bit of time on his hands. So it's high time he shows that he can really perform. Otherwise, he will go into that kind of a list of bowlers who showed promise but never fulfilled it. Someone like Khalil Ahmed comes to mind, or Dhaval Kulkarni from the past.
yeah.
So I would like to see him work hard and try and earn that Indian spot again.
Yeah, that's true. I think he had an injury because of which he was ruled out, and after that, he was never really considered for the Indian side. But to be honest, last time I remember one game against RR in which he defended 9 runs of the last over against Jurel and Hetmar. So that's when he showed his quality. The accuracy with which he can bowl Yorkers is quite,
Yeah,
it's magnificent. So he can be that leader of the pack. He just needs someone else who can be consistent. Maybe Akashdeep could be that player. He was injured last time, so we don't know his true potential. He's played for RCB, but I think he was in and out of the side with Vaishak Vijay Kumar. Both of them were playing that fifth bowler's role. So maybe Akashdeep, but they need one more experienced spacer. But yeah, now let's talk about the batting, which was the main thing for them
yeah,
last time. I think they had three players in the top 10 in Mitch Marsh, Nicholas Pooran, and Aidan Markram. So how do you think they played for them, and do you think they can replicate that in 2026?
yeah. I think all of their performers had one similar caveat, which was the consistency. So all of them, at some point, their form dipped, and there was a pretty long phase where they didn't perform. I remember Pooran started really well
Yeah,
and just seemed unstoppable, and then he stopped so fast and so big that he just really didn't recover from there. And I think Mitch Marsh had a similar curve, but just the opposite way.
yeah,
He ended the season very well. Markram too, I think. So they need someone who can be reliable, and I see Nicholas Pooran being that name. He just gets a bit too complacent. That's what I feel. He has got so much potential, and he shows it. He shows glimpses all the time. So they need one of these to have a big season with consistent performances. And also, I feel they will release a couple of names at least, because at the time of buying these names, we all were talking about how all four of their foreign slots were taken up by just batters, and that is why they ended up having so many mediocre bowlers. So they need to solve that balance.
yeah. That's true. And you also need to consider that Rishabh Pant was kind of in his worst form of his career. I don't think he's going to get that bad ever. So it's only up for him now. So you can add him to the list as well for next season. But as you mentioned, they need to probably try and slot in an Indian player in the top three. You can't have Marsh, Markram, and Pooran as your top three because then it leaves a lot to do for Rishabh Pant, Ayush Badoni, and I think even Shahbaz Ahmed who used to play there. Maybe David Miller as well. So they need to shift that power from the top to middle and keep maybe two at the top and one in the middle. So who do you think they will release firstly and who can they replace? I think there were a few talks about a certain player that they're targeting.
Yeah, I think what Tom Moody said in one of the interviews was that they will go all out for Cam Green, who could be a very good option. But the fact that he said that means that they'll surely have to have enough purse in the first place, which means that they are planning to release a few big names. So what that indicates to me is that David Miller is going. So that also works well for them, considering he's worth 7.5 crores and didn't really have the kind of season, and also age not being on his side. I think that is a wise decision if they choose to do that. So as you mentioned, they also need to go for Indians in the top so that they can have someone, uh, a good quality pacer or spinner who's not Indian in the bottom. So I would look at them releasing David Miller and even Shamar Joseph, maybe, because he too has been historically unfit.
Yeah,
You don't want so many of those elements. I hope they've learned the lesson. So I can see those two being released and even a few other smaller ones so that they have enough purse. There were talks about whether they can release Rishabh Pant and then buy him for a lesser price, but I don't think that will happen. What do you
yeah.
think?
There's no chance he's going under 20 crores. Or I think even 23. So they might end up saving only 4 crores, which is not worth it. And then there's a risk of losing him because if they want to go for Green and Pant as well, it's a bit tricky. I had a question for you, which is about Ravi Bishnoi, because he was the retention, if you remember, the first ever time LSG
Yeah,
picked players. Bishnoi was one of them. So do you think he deserves 11 crores looking at his performance? And also about Mayank and Mohsin, what's your final take? Do you think they stay or they go?
I think Ravi Bishnoi, he just had one poor season, and that too by his standards. He did do decently, I believe. So I won't really try and release him with just one poor season. He's done well for them over a long time. But Mayank Yadav, I know that the management trusts him a lot, and it would be really disappointing for them if he is released and then ends up playing the entire season for another team
Yeah,
and does well. So I think they're just worried about that, or they are betting on his skills whenever he's available. So it's a bit tricky to decide whether to free up 11 crores or retain him. I think a lot depends on the communication they have with him and whether he is in a good space physically and if he is doing well. Because I think even if he can guarantee playing the entire season, that is enough for me to give him the 11 crores. Not even talking about his performances. So I would just want him to show up.
yeah.
So I think at the moment I won't really leave him because you've given him 11 crores and you have to give him a chance to showcase that he is worth it because everybody knows that he is. So I just hope his body supports him this time.
Yeah, I really hope because I think that one game against RCB in 2023, I think, where he cleaned up
Cool.
in 2024, where he cleaned up the team and he didn't just take wickets, he scared the batters and took wickets. That was really nice to see. So I hope he can put in a bit more of similar performances. With that, let's move to the one player that you're looking forward to. Who is that one guy who you're excited about?
I would go with Ayush Badoni, even though he has been, he's not a new name. He's been around for a while. I feel next year will be his. He has truly been in good form, and I can see that spark in him that he has matured and he's now ready to deliver on the big stage. And possibly an Indian call up is awaiting him if he has a good season. That's my prediction.
Yeah, that's it's really funny because I was also going for Ayush Badune. He's obviously picked in India A, I think in the match against South Africa A, so he's on the right track. But now that I have to pick someone else, I think I'll go with two players. One is Rishabh Pant. I want to see his comeback because he was trolled massively last time. The owner also had a few stern words with him after a few games. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he comes back. And the second player is Mitch Marsh. He's called the Bison and he was in form last time. and he's in tremendous form even right now. He's another player who's quite injury prone, but I think he's not bowling for them, so he's kind of restricting himself. But if he and Pant, if they can start the season with a bang, and if they're supported with Puran, Badoni, and Aiden Markram, I think this Lucknow team is they're capable of causing some big damage. They're massively underrated, I believe. So these players, if they can perform well and if they have their bowling attack, I think they are a very strong squad.
Yeah. So I think with that we have completed the entire lineup of franchises. I think I'm looking forward to this retention a lot more than previous years because
Yeah,
I've just realized that ever since the massive Hardik Pandya trade that happened, I think teams have become a lot more open in the trading window as well. Because before that, you hardly realized that the trading window is open
yeah,
and you never really saw a lot of movement. But that has changed in the last few years, so it has made things a lot more interesting. And we have always been longing for something like this in the off season where the hype remains or is built even more. So I think over the years that has improved a lot with the IPL. So now we all will wait, or you guys will wait for us to record our reactions when the released players are eventually announced. And I think it's going to be a very good episode.
yeah. I'm looking forward to it. For us, right now, it's only 2 days away, so I can't wait because I'm sure there'll be a few surprising releases.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that and a lot more. Until then, this is Wade signing off.
Bye bye.